Hi, everyone. It's been a while since I've shown up here. Um, Lots been going on this year, but I've been feeling strongly led to talk about this topic of the church and husbands and wives going through a divorce. I can't say I hear this from men very often, but I can't say that I talk to men very often about this topic. But I will say, myself as a divorced Christian woman, um, and other divorced Christian women I know, or women that are going through a divorce that I know, the church does a very bad job of being there for these women. Now, let's just, I get this whole argument that God hates divorce. Okay, yes, that's true. God does hate divorce, but he doesn't hate divorced people. Okay. And I'm also not advocating for people to just get a divorce because they're just tired of being married or they're tired of their spouse or whatever. But there are valid reasons to get a divorce. And the women I know who've been through a divorce, those reasons, those valid reasons apply to them. Maybe not every woman, but most of the women I know. And we know that abuse is rampant these days, and I'm not just talking physical abuse. There's mental and emotional abuse as well, sexual abuse, but I think what I focus more on is the mental and emotional abuse, because it's so easy to hide that in a marriage, that it's going on. And I'm certainly not saying that men aren't sometimes the victim, okay? But most of the time it's women. But I do understand that it can affect both, that there are women who are abusive, and there are men who are abusive. I get it, okay? I'm talking specifically about women because A, I am a woman, and B, the conversations I have about this topic are with women, okay? And statistically speaking, the woman is more likely to be, the wife is more likely to be abused. But again, that doesn't mean that men aren't abused in marriages as well. Okay. Now, in the Bible, Jesus says men should love their wives as they love the church. And it's not saying, well, if you hate the church, then it's okay to hate your wife. We all, regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, you are called to love the church. And the church is not necessarily a building, okay? We are called to love the church and respect the church and respect that process, okay? And yes, I know there are people who have been hurt by their churches and all of that. I get that too, but we're not talking about that here. I think that churches, and leadership in churches gets stuck on this. Well, God hates divorce, and that we shouldn't, that we're not supposed to condone divorce. Okay. But if you are showing up and walking alongside someone who's getting a divorce, and if they're getting a divorce for biblical reasons, there's nothing wrong with that. Churches should do that. I have a friend who is, she hasn't filed for divorce, but her and her husband don't live together anymore, and they haven't for a couple of years now. Their marriage is essentially over. And yes, they're Christians. He has been getting counseling from their pastor for as long as they've been separated. She's never been asked to come to any of those. She's never been asked to come to any of those meetings. to talk with the pastor and her husband about their marriage or anything like that. And she feels a sense of, she doesn't feel like she belongs at that church anymore. So, and maybe that's maybe it just, if you're going to counsel a spouse on their marriage and their situation, there should come a point where there's a conversation with the other spouse as well. And this is not, we're not talking about 6 months. We're talking about a couple of years this has been going on. And not once have they approached her about getting the two of them together to sit down and talk. So it sounds to me, and it looks, from the outside, it looks like the husband is getting counseled and they've come alongside him and are supporting him. And the wife feels abandoned, and she feels like she's actually gone out and found a different church to start going to. And no one from the church has reached out to her and said, gee, why did you leave or anything like that? So obviously they've chosen a side. This church has chosen a side. And that's wrong too. Because they're choosing a side based on what they're hearing from one spouse. They're not getting the whole picture. And that's a problem too. I mean, if the church was really invested in, okay, maybe there's an opportunity to save a marriage here, they wouldn't just counsel the husband. They would counsel both. And that's not going on. And they've basically abandoned her to the point where she felt the need to go out and find another church. This is the problem here. The church needs to do a better job of supporting our brothers and sisters in Christ and what they're going through. Would you abandon someone like that if they had an addiction? Or would you be, oh, this person has an addiction, but they're getting help and they're clean, they've been clean for a while. You're going to come alongside that person. Why is it any different when it comes to divorce? And women who are divorced, I can't, like I said, I can't speak for men because I haven't had those conversations with men. But I know as a divorced woman myself, I've felt it over the years. I've felt like, that people in the church just don't know how to relate to me, which, I'm still a person, regardless of whether I've been divorced or not. I'm still a person, and I think, I hear, I follow the blogger Matt Walsh, for any of you who might follow him as well. I really do enjoy listening to him, but I do, he takes a pretty hard stance on divorce, and I'm not saying he shouldn't, okay? But there are times when divorce is necessary. God hates divorce. Of course he does. But he also understands that it's going to happen because we live in a fallen world, and that's why in the Bible it's specific. There are specific reasons for divorce, and I don't think they're always spelled out. Like I said, when you use the example of husbands are called to love their wife as they love the church, I think that can be interpreted in a few different ways. And I would say that, Jesus would never have been abusive to the church. God would never want someone to be abusive to the church. So then it's not okay for husbands to be abusive to their wives. And I'm not just talking about physical abuse. And so people, we all should not be quick to judge others and what they're going through. I know people who've gotten divorced that don't appear to be for biblical reasons. But is that any of my business? No. Because maybe there was abuse going on behind closed doors that I don't know about, and those people have not talked about. And so I think that's the bottom line, is we shouldn't be judging, because, oh, God hates divorce. Well, yeah, he does, but he doesn't hate divorced people. And he understands that divorce is sometimes necessary. Do I think that divorce is the law, our laws in the United States have made it easier for divorce to happen. As far as, no fault divorces, irreconcilable differences, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I don't necessarily agree with that. Because I think when there is a divorce, yeah, there's someone should be at fault. And I do agree that it takes two to make a marriage work. It takes two to make it not work. Okay. But at the same time, you could have one person in the marriage who's trying very hard to make the marriage work, and the other one is just like, no, this is what I'm doing. You're just going to have to deal with it, And I think this stuff goes on more than we realize. And so we just have to be careful that we're not judging situations we don't know. And as Christians, we shouldn't be, oh, divorce is wrong, you just shouldn't get a divorce. That's bad. And the church just abandons people because, it's not okay. And that's what's not okay, is that, these people going through a divorce, they need the support. They need their church to come alongside them. And not just, think, oh, well, I can't come alongside them because they're getting a divorce and God hates divorce, so we can't support that. If you knew one of the spouses had been had committed adultery, is that the position you would take? I mean, because it's pretty clear in the Bible that is a reason for divorce. That is the biblical reason for divorce. But the same applies to abuse. And just because someone isn't telling you that abuse is going on doesn't mean you should assume it's not. So anyway, I'm probably rambling more than anything, but I really feel led to bring this topic to the forefront, as far as churches and their lack of support of people going through a divorce, because it's a problem. It's a problem as divorces increase. And I'm not an advocate for divorce. I'm not supporting divorce. But divorces are increasing because this world is becoming more and more of a fallen world. And sorry, my mind wandered for a minute. So the more that this world falls, the more marriages are going to fall, and other things as well, not just marriages. Okay. But I think if you're talking about a Christian couple and one of them is initiating the divorce, I think the church, before they decide that they're not going to be supportive of that person, they should sit down and talk with that person, and understand what's going on. It needs to be a private conversation. But again, that person doesn't have to divulge anything they're not comfortable divulging. There's no easy answer here. That's the bottom line. But I think instead of judging, and this doesn't just apply to the church, it applies to society in general, and especially Christians, when you know of a couple that's going through a divorce, we shouldn't be so quick to judge, because we don't live in that marriage. We don't know if and why that divorce may be necessary. So that's all for today. I'd love your feedback. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what I'm saying here. And, understanding that, yeah, there are divorces, if we look at Hollywood, but again, we're judging something we don't know. We don't know what it's like to live in their marriages. So I struggle with even judging Hollywood divorces because when you just don't know what's going on and why that divorce may be necessary. And I think we need to do a better job. It's hard when you're young, you make a decision to marry one and you see yourself spending the rest of your life with that person. And it works for people. I get it. I've seen marriages where it works. But I've also seen people in marriages where it's not working and they stay together, whether it's for financial reasons, but they're not willing to work on the marriage too. You can't, to just stay in the marriage like, oh, because God hates divorce, so we're just going to stay in this marriage, but we're not going to do anything to fix it. I mean, that's just bad for that. It's bad for the couple. It's bad for any children that might be involved. Anyway, there's just so much we could talk about on this subject. But I think the ultimate point I want to make is that when someone's going through a divorce, they need all the support they can get. They don't need judgment. And that should be our goal. God would want us to love someone going through a divorce, even though he hates divorce. He would still want us to show love and support to that person in the best way we possibly can. So anyway, hope everyone has a great day. It's Friday. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll be coming back soon. Talk to you soon.